Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. When someone told me to stop buying coffee to save money, I literally rolled my eyes so hard I almost saw my brain. I mean, come on, we've all heard this advice a million times, right? Skip the latte, save $1 million. It's become this financial cliche that everyone loves to hate. But here's the thing, I actually did it. Not because I believed the hype, but because I wanted to show that cutting out a $5 coffee makes absolutely zero difference in the grand scheme of things. Spoiler alert, I was completely wrong, but not for the reasons you think. So picture this. It's Monday morning, 7:45 a.m. You're running late, again. You didn't sleep well because you were scrolling TikTok until midnight. And now you're rushing out the door with wet hair and mismatched socks. What's the first thing you do? You stop at Starbucks, or Dunkin', or that local coffee shop with the Instagram-worthy latte art, and you think, it's just $5.50. I need this to function. I deserve this. And you're right, you do deserve it. I'm not here to shame anyone. But here's what I discovered during my 30-day experiment that actually blew my mind, and it has almost nothing to do with the money itself. See, most people think this whole coffee debate is about saving $150 a month. And yeah, that's part of it. But what most people don't realize is that buying that daily coffee is just the tip of the iceberg. It's a symptom of something way bigger happening with your money. Let me show you what I mean with some real numbers from my own experiment. Week 1. I stopped buying my usual $5.50 Grande Caramel Macchiato. Saved $38.50 that week. Not bad, right? That's basically a free tank of gas. But then I noticed something weird. On Tuesday of week 1, I didn't stop at Starbucks. I drove straight to work. I got there 12 minutes earlier than usual. Why? Because I wasn't sitting in the drive-thru line for 15 minutes. And here's where it gets interesting. That same Tuesday, because I arrived early and wasn't rushing, I didn't stop at the vending machine for a mid-morning snack. There's another $2.50 I didn't spend. Then at lunch, I actually ate the leftovers I brought from home instead of saying screw it and ordering Chipotle because I was already in spending mode. By the end of week 1, I hadn't just saved $38.50 on coffee. I'd saved $127 total. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but that's just you being disciplined. And you're partially right. But here's what nobody talks about. There's actual psychological research on this. It's called the licensing effect, or moral licensing. Basically, when you make one small indulgent decision, like buying coffee, your brain feels like you've already broken the seal on spending for the day. It's like this. Imagine your daily budget is a freshly painted white wall. When you buy that morning coffee, it's like flicking a tiny drop of paint on it. The wall isn't perfect anymore, so your brain goes, what's another drop? And another, and another. By the end of the day, that wall is splattered. But when you start the day without spending anything, that wall stays pristine. And there's this weird psychological pressure to keep it that way. You become protective of it. During week 2 of my experiment, I tracked every single purchase. And I discovered something shocking. On days when I bought coffee, I spent an average of $47 on random stuff throughout the day. On days when I didn't buy coffee, I spent an average of $18. That's a $29 difference. Not because coffee magically makes you spend more money, but because that first purchase sets the tone for your entire day. The real cost of that $5.50 coffee? It's actually around $47 in total daily spending. Now here's where people usually jump in with the compound interest calculator, right? If you invest that $5.50 daily for 40 years at 8% returns, you'll have $412,000. And yeah, that's technically true, but let's be real, nobody actually does that. The average person doesn't take their coffee money and immediately dump it into a Roth IRA. So let me show you what actually happened with my savings instead. After 30 days, I had saved $381 by not buying coffee. But because of that ripple effect I mentioned, the reduced impulse spending throughout the day, I'd actually saved $1,127 total. I took that $1,127 and did something simple. I paid off one of my credit cards that had a $1,200 balance at 22.99% interest. Here's the math on that. I was paying about $23 per month in interest on that card. By paying it off, I freed up $23 monthly. Over a year, that's $276. Over 5 years, that's $1,380. And that's assuming I never add to that card again, which, let's be honest, I probably would have. But more importantly, and this is the thing that really changed my perspective, I broke a cycle. See, the most powerful thing that happened during this experiment wasn't the money I saved. It was who I became in the process. For years, I was the person who needs coffee to function. That was part of my identity. I had it in my Instagram bio, for crying out loud. I owned mugs that said, "Don't talk to me before coffee." I made it part of my personality. But here's what I realized. When you tie your identity to spending money on something, anything, you're basically giving yourself permission to never change that behavior. It's not just a habit anymore, it's who you are. During week 3, something clicked. I stopped being the coffee person and started being the person who makes intentional choices about money. That might sound cheesy, but I'm telling you, it's a completely different mindset. And once you start seeing yourself as someone who makes intentional choices with money, it spreads to everything else. I started questioning my $15.99 monthly subscription to that meditation app I used once in March. I canceled my $89 annual premium Spotify, yes, I know, controversial, and switched to the free version with ads. I negotiated my car insurance and saved $43 a month. None of this had anything to do with coffee, but the coffee was the gateway. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This is ridiculous. Life is short. I should be able to enjoy a damn coffee without feeling guilty. And you're absolutely right. You should. But here's my question for you. Are you actually enjoying it? Or has it become such an automatic habit that you don't even taste it anymore? During my experiment, on day 28, I decided to treat myself to my old usual Starbucks order. You know what happened? It didn't taste as good as I remembered. It was too sweet. I felt jittery afterward. And honestly, the $5.50 felt like a lot of money in a way it never did before. That's when I realized I wasn't giving up something I loved. I was breaking free from something that had been controlling me. There's a huge difference between choosing to buy a coffee because you genuinely want one and buying coffee because it's Monday and that's just what you do. So here's my challenge to you. Not forever, not even for 30 days if that feels too overwhelming. Try it for 1 week, 7 days. Track everything, not just the coffee money you save, but all the other spending that changes because of it. I guarantee you'll be surprised. And look, maybe you'll finish the week and decide you really do love your daily coffee ritual, and it's worth every penny. That's totally fine. At least now you're making a conscious choice instead of running on autopilot. But my guess? You'll discover the same thing I did, that the coffee was never really about the coffee. It was about taking control back, about realizing that small decisions compound, not just financially, but psychologically. The person you are is the sum of the tiny choices you make every single day. And if you're not happy with where you are financially right now, changing those tiny choices is how you get somewhere different. Start with the coffee, see where it takes you. If this experiment resonates with you, hit that like button and let me know in the comments what your coffee is, that one small expense you're going to try cutting for a week. I read every single comment, and I want to hear your results. And if you want more real talk about money without the BS, subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I'm breaking down financial myths like this every single week. Remember, you're not broke because you buy coffee, But the habits that make you buy coffee without thinking, those same habits are keeping you broke. See you in the next one.